Okay, this is the second volume of 12-step recovery procedures, giving you instructions of how to start your own 12-step spiritual and moral advancement support group. If you've gone through volume 1, which is procedures for spiritual awakening, then this might be the natural consequence of learning how to do that and then getting people that are interested in the same goal to go ahead with developing a local support group, and then perhaps later joining in with others and creating a more of a national organization. However, this 12-step organization is going to be quite different than most 12-step groups. It's not AA, it's not NA or OA. It's exclusively for people wanting spiritual and moral advancement and progression, not necessarily for those who need it. It's for people with a strong desire to learn, read, study, practice, and teach this particular spiritual and moral recovery method. And for people who can follow rules for social behavior and are well disciplined in following directions and achieving satisfactory results. Just as 12-step support group meetings are exclusive to a particular issue, such as alcoholism, narcotic addiction, compulsive eating, or gambling, this support group meetings are exclusive to those who desire to recover, advance, and progress morally and spiritually, as outlined in our previous slideshow presentation of the 12-step recovery procedures. Volume 1, which was entitled The Procedure for Spiritual Awakening. With other forms of 12-step recovery support groups, the standards for participation are usually very lax and allow anyone to attend their meetings, or they have closed meetings for those who say they are members and state that they have a desire to stop an addictive or often destructive behavior. They may attend the meetings ad infinitum, but they may never really have any desire to work through the suggested recovery program. The unfortunate effect is that often those who do not work the recovery program and fail to ever experience any moral or spiritual improvement often become the majority at the support group and subsequent support activities, and critically influence the membership and the policies of the organization. Therefore, this particular 12-step support group has been designed for those sincerely interested in developing their moral and spiritual character as the primary purpose for meeting with like-minded people with the same goal. This support group is not quite as liberal or inclusive as many other 12-step organizations and requires that anyone attending the support group meeting for moral and spiritual progression have a desire and are willing to declare that desire to read, study, practice, and teach this method as described in Volume 1 of this series. Therefore, one of the prerequisites to attend these spiritual and moral awakening step meetings requires that anyone attending the meeting be willing to declare their name and make a statement such as, I am, and give your name, and I have a desire to read, study, practice, learn, and teach this spiritual and moral progression system as described in Volume 1 of the 12-step recovery procedures. This requirement is specifically designed to ensure that people attending the support group are sincere about their desire to progress morally and spiritually, and to purposefully weed out those who could waste time, energy, patience of those attending the support group meeting who are sincerely trying to achieve moral and spiritual progress of their character. Another requirement for attending the support group meetings is that the new person must have obtained, read, and listened to Volume 1 of the 12-step recovery procedures, and has obtained a mentor to assist them with their work, and has begun the process to achieve a moral and spiritual awakening. Although these requirements to attend the support group appear to be quite strict, they are placed there intentionally to prevent what has happened in other 12-step programs where the focus is no longer on the program for moral and spiritual development and maintenance. Our support group must always be on the guard against moral and spiritual stagnation or regression. With that being said, there are also an extensive series of guidelines that are read at the beginning of all support group meetings and other service meetings or assemblies, requesting that people in attendance listen and conform to certain standards for social harmony. The moral and spiritual awakening support group meetings are not designed to help anyone recover from an addiction or obsessive behavior, but those with such problems are welcome to attend these support group meetings, provided they are willing to make the declaration of their intent and comply with the stated guidelines for social harmony. These guidelines, not necessarily 12, will be presented at the beginning of each support group meeting so that all those in attendance are aware of the need to comply for the best interests of the common welfare. If someone cannot or will not conform to such rules for common courtesy and respect, the chairperson of the support group has the authority to stop the process of the support group meeting until effective action has been taken to restore order. My apologies for the negativity and the rant to begin this presentation, but it is a very unfortunate state where 12-step meetings designed for altruistic service to help those in need have become playgrounds for depravity, where bullies and the incorrigible have forced the rest of decent society out. Without going into further detail as to the need for such standards of conduct, trust me when I tell you that the deterioration of such noble principles set forth in 12-step programs is very possible and has significantly reduced the organizational leadership and quality of information presented in the meetings. So why would you want to start your own spiritual and moral progression support group? Well, for one, it's the key ingredient for personal, moral, and spiritual progression. It creates a social group of friends who value moral and spiritual progression. You can create a healthy and rewarding entertainment activity. You exclude unacceptable social behavior from sincere, meaningful, and genuine intentions, and improve the moral and spiritual character of yourself, others, and your society by expanding into a national organization. So again, the question, why on God's good earth, with a plethora of 12-step meetings in every locale in the United States, would you want to start your own spiritual and moral progression support group? Well, for one, it helps a great deal when you have a group to work together to accomplish something. If someone were to dump a pile of rocks in your driveway so that you could make improvements to the landscaping around your house, things might go a lot faster and easier if you had a bunch of friends to help out. Support groups are the same principle, hard by the yard, but a cinch by the inch. Support groups with genuinely sincere attendees provide a variety of perception and experience, which expands your present level of consciousness. Attending a support group with persons of a common purpose is the key ingredient to developing and maintaining your moral and spiritual character. A consequence of starting such a support group is that you also develop a circle of high caliber friends who will be there for you and won't let you down. Your personalized support group will provide you healthy and rewarding association and interaction with people who value morality and spirituality. As your fellowship grows, you also develop a source of nonviolent and profound entertainment, unavailable on our TV sets, computer screens, or in the movies. With the establishment of rules for social harmony with people who can follow rules, the support group meeting will elevate your consciousness. The amplifying effect of discussing principles of morality and spirituality, along with meditation and prayer, with a group is beyond description and needs to be experienced to know the joy and enlightenment that can occur by attending and participating in such meetings. Meeting with people who like to read about moral and spiritual development, who can easily follow directions and know how to apply themselves to reach a satisfying goal, can only create contentment and satisfaction at increasing levels. Another reason to start your own support group is that as this organization expands and helps the many like-minded people interested in moral and spiritual development, the standards for our society elevate as well. A spiritual and moral development organization that can grow to national proportions could only help our nation and improve upon the standards our nation was created. I am hoping that you, as my audience, can easily see why such an organization could be of great benefit to our society and our country in this day and age. So here's some key points for you if you would so desire to start a spiritual moral awakening support group. You'll need to get a location. You could have it at your home. You get a room in a church or a community center or rent a space. You'll need to advertise, but there's methods such as meetup.com, natural awakenings, or you can post a notice in a 12-step hall for people that are interested in doing the 12 steps just for a spiritual and moral awakening. You'll need a meeting format so that you can follow a standardized format and rules for social harmony. You'll need to be self-supporting. Make a collection for all activities so that the support group and the support activities are self-supporting. And you need to democratize. You conduct business meetings to form a democracy so that all chores to conduct the support group are spread evenly amongst the members. So one of the main things that you will need to start your own support group for spiritual moral awakening is a strong desire to do so. And that desire must be stronger than other desires so that when it comes time to commitment and time budgeting, you will be able to meet the responsibility and obligation with inspiration and enthusiasm. With that said, setting up a routine time and location shouldn't be too difficult of a task, especially if you approach the endeavor with meditation and prayer, asking for assistance from your higher spiritual power. You can find and establish a location for a meeting. Your home, a church, or spiritual center, a library, or community center, or even renting a space are some examples. The arrangements shouldn't be too difficult. Getting the word out is rather simple nowadays. There are many online services such as meetup.com with easy availability and use. There are spiritual newspapers such as Light Times and Natural Awakenings that will help you reach an audience of spiritual and moral seekers. You can also post an announcement in a library, your spiritual center, or a 12-step meeting hall. This presentation will provide you a standardized format to follow based upon the experience from other 12-step recovery organizations. This format will include rules for social harmony to be read at the beginning of each meeting so that the attendees have some idea of what is expected. This will help a great deal in avoiding some difficult situations whenever a mixed group of people gather for a common purpose. It especially helps remove egos and egotism from taking over or disrupting the intent of the meeting. Certain behavior that is often acceptable and encouraged in some social settings may be totally inappropriate for this particular meeting, and it should be made clear so that unfortunate errors in judgment do not occur that could insult or harm other attendees or discourage their return. Also, the format includes a collection of funds so that no one is overtaxed with financial commitments to keep the support group running. All of the activities to include the support group meeting and the business meeting shall be self-supporting, and any outside funding from individuals or organizations should be denied, lest they have a say in how the meetings and activities of the spiritual and moral recovery activities must be conducted. This presentation will provide you a standardized format to follow based upon experience from other 12-step recovery organizations. This format will include rules for social harmony to be read at the beginning of each meeting so that the attendees have some idea of what is to be expected. This will help a great deal in avoiding some difficult situations whenever a mixed group of people gather for a common purpose. It especially helps remove egos and egotism from taking over or disrupting the intent of the meeting. Certain behavior that is often acceptable and encouraged in some social settings may be totally inappropriate for this particular meeting, and it should be made clear so that unfortunate errors in judgment do not occur that could insult or harm other attendees or discourage their return. Also, the format includes a collection of funds so that no one is overtaxed with financial commitments to keep the support meeting running. All of the activities to include the support group meeting and business meeting shall be self-supporting, and any outside funding from individuals or organizations should be denied, lest they have say on how the meetings and activities of the spiritual and moral recovery activities must be conducted. The format also includes an announcement to form a democracy through the development of a business meeting. The business meeting is designed to democratize the activities of those attending the moral and spiritual support group so that the responsibilities and chores of conducting meetings can be evenly dispersed so that no one person is overwhelmed with responsibility. The democracy is also designed to prevent one or a few persons from taking over the meeting to conform to their purposes. Some of the responsibilities are rotating leadership to chair the support group and business meetings, persons willing to act as secretaries to record activities and decisions and to create agendas and announcements for the members, and persons willing to act as treasurers so that the collections to support the organization are handled properly and available to pay expenses. With the formation of a democracy, the support group activities will no longer be dependent upon the person who started the meeting, and the support group shall continue without needing one or a few persons to keep it going. In short order, everyone who attends this support group shall learn and understand the theory and functions of the entire operation so that it can continue. As difficulties, situations, and circumstances arise, the business meeting democracy can fairly discuss, meditate, and pray, and then vote democratically upon the best moral and spiritual resolutions and remedies. Another key point that will be in the routine format for both support group and business meeting is the standing and request to start new spiritual and moral support group meetings so that the organization can grow and expand. In later volumes of this series of 12-step procedures, it will be volume 4, there will be a presentation on how to develop a national moral and spiritual democracy and how to develop a moral and spiritual corporation to administrate the policies established by the democracy so that it can serve the membership. Just as 12-step principles and organizations evolved from former moral and spiritual organizations, such as the Oxford Group, so shall this organization evolve from the traditional 12-step recovery programs designed to assist people in overcoming addictions. However, this organization will be based upon the common purpose of developing, maintaining, and progressing one's moral and spiritual character, with the potential outcome of raising the moral and spiritual character of our society. Hopefully, we will become a national and worldwide fellowship. With the formation of the democracy, the support group activities will no longer be dependent upon the person who started the meeting, and the support group shall continue without needing one or a few persons to keep it going. In short order, everyone who attends the support group regularly shall learn and understand the theory and functions of the entire operation so that it can continue. As difficulties, situations, and circumstances arise, the business meeting democracy can fairly discuss, meditate, and pray, and then vote democratically upon the best moral and spiritual resolutions and remedies. Another key point that will be in the routine format for both the support group and the business meeting is the standing request to start new spiritual and moral support group meetings so that the organization can grow and expand. In later volumes of this series of 12-step procedures, Volume 4, there will be a presentation on how to develop a national moral and spiritual democracy and how to develop a moral and spiritual corporation to administrate policies established by the democracy to serve the membership. Just as 12-step principles and organization evolved from former moral and spiritual organizations, such as the Oxford Group, so shall this organization evolve from the traditional 12-step recovery programs designed to assist people in overcoming addictions. However, this organization will be based upon the common purpose of developing, maintaining, and progressing one's moral and spiritual character, with the potential outcome of raising the moral and spiritual character of our society. Hopefully, we will become a national or worldwide fellowship. Support group foundation principles. Well, they're going to be a lot, but briefly, some of the principles will be that a higher spiritual power will be the ultimate authority. We look out for the common welfare and common purpose of the group, but we also are very concerned about the individual welfare and respect for all individuals. Also, those that attend our support group should have the practice of using the 12-step spiritual and moral awakening procedures to maintain peace, not only during the meeting, but in their lives. And then there will be a principle of collective superior spiritual and moral conscious procedures to make decisions democratically and spiritually in our business meetings. Okay, the first item in these foundation principles is the ultimate authority for our moral and spiritual support group will always be a loving, intelligent, higher spiritual power. But they also address a common purpose for our members, a higher spiritual power of your own understanding, higher spiritual power that will have certain general specifications, and then partly we'll discuss the collective moral and spiritual conscience. Okay, foundation principle, item 1, higher spiritual power. 1A, the ultimate authority in our moral and spiritual support group is a loving, intelligent, higher spiritual power. Our common purpose is to progressively improve our moral and spiritual character by applying the methods described in our procedures for moral and spiritual awakening. Through meditation and prayer, we always ask a higher spiritual power to assist us in practicing the moral and spiritual principles and standards of our fellowship in all levels of activity or service. The ultimate authority in all policy and decision-making activities lies in our collective spiritual and moral conscience, arrived at through fair discussion, then through meditation and prayer, to our personal concept of a higher spiritual power prior to voting and making a decision. Item 1B, all important fellowship decisions ought to be made with a collective spiritual and moral conscience procedure, which includes A, proper notification of the event to the membership, B, standard motion and agenda procedures, C, fair discussion practices, D, a period of meditation and prayer to consult with one's higher spiritual power, E, a fair vote with persons properly informed of the discussion, and F, a decision made by either substantial unanimity, no decision, or a draw of a hat. All motions, discussions, and final recommendations must consider feasibility, cost, practicality, and methods to administrate the decision. Item 1C, We develop our own personal and internal concept of a higher spiritual power. This term, higher spiritual power, is used consistently throughout our organization activities. Higher spiritual power is used over the term God, Allah, Christ, Muhammad, Krishna, Buddha, and so forth, although you are free to privately use whatever terminology you desire. The term higher spiritual power is used as a generic term so that no one is slighted and to prevent arguments over theology and religion. Item 1D. However, for the purposes of this particular spiritual and moral support group, the term higher spiritual power does have some specifications. One is that this power that we are to access is spiritual and not physical. Therefore, a concept of a tree, a mountain lion, or a policeman, or anything from the physical world is unacceptable as something for discussion in our routine meetings and activities. There are many powers in the physical universe that are greater than ourselves, but may not necessarily be to our benefit. The term higher spiritual power stands for a superior, supernatural entity beyond our comprehension that exists in a realm other than this physical universe, whether it be external or internal to the physical concept of ourselves. Item 1E. The term higher indicates that this power is superior in all forms of quality. This power can hold no negative traits, and its positive qualities are perceived as absolutes. This power is capable of qualities beyond human capacity. Traits such as unconditional love and forgiveness, absolute truth, all-knowing, everywhere now, and so forth are attributed to this term higher spiritual power. Higher meaning an infinitely larger quantity as well. Therefore, this higher power will be extremely more intelligent, loving, and powerful than what we can actually perceive. Although quite difficult, we try to perceive this power as something more than anthropomorphic. If anyone in attendance cannot buy into such philosophy, then it might not be to their advantage to continue with this particular support group. Okay, item 2 of our foundation principles as members of this spiritual and moral progress support group, our common and individual welfare is based upon unity, service, equality, and respect. We're concerned for the common welfare of our people that attend our meetings through unity and service. We're concerned about the individual welfare by treating everyone equally and respecting everyone. And we have certain prerequisites to attend our support group meetings. We ask that you make your statement of purpose and declaration of intent prior to speaking in our meetings, that you have started volume 1 of the 12-step procedures, the procedure for spiritual awakening, and you have a spiritual and moral mentor who is further down the path. Okay, so the longer version of this item 2 of our foundation principles would fall under the heading Common and Individual Welfare and Purpose. 2A, our common welfare is of extreme importance, and in order to protect and guarantee the continuance of this spiritual and moral development organization, we as members need to remain united in purpose and intent. Therefore, before speaking, we routinely identify ourselves by name and make the statement, I am, and I have a desire to progress morally and spiritually using the precepts of Volume 1, 12-step procedures. Item 2B, there are many ways to achieve a spiritual awakening and to develop moral character. But to avoid argument and controversy and stick to our schedule, our meetings discuss only one method, which is the method provided in Volume 1 of the 12-step procedures, the procedure for spiritual awakening. We do, however, allow one period of our discussion to bring up outside spiritual and moral resources or literature. And that time would be during the discussion of our personal moral and spiritual progress during the latter part of our support group. I apologize, this particular rule is worded rather strictly and is designed to keep our information standardized and to avoid dilution. However, these presented foundation principles and social harmony doctrines are only guidelines to demonstrate the spirit of intent and are not to be used as law with subsequent enforcement and punitive actions. We as a whole are not closed-minded to outside information from all other agencies of psychiatric, psychological, moral, and spiritual services. Item 2C, our individual welfare runs a close second to our common welfare. It cannot be stressed enough that every level of our organization, we must treat each other with respect and equality, no matter what position within the organization we may temporarily hold. As members of a moral and spiritual organization, we share the load of responsibility and chores necessary to hold the support group and subsequent business meetings and assemblies together. We always serve our fellows and we never govern. Item 2D, before anyone can attend the support group meeting, they must have reviewed Volume 1, obtained a moral and spiritual mentor, and have started on their way to progress morally and spiritually. Item 2E, members are free to resign immediately or with proper notice from any position at any time or event without any threat of retribution or punitive action. Members can resign and rejoin the fellowship as often as they choose without retribution, chastisement, or judgment. Members are always free to start another moral and spiritual recovery support group, and if they so choose, can become an affiliate of our organization, provided they comply with our recommended rules and procedures. Item 2F. We are aware that as humans, we do not always achieve our goals, live by our morals, or follow instructions to the letter. Therefore, we must give leeway for when things do not function as planned and go awry. With this in mind, we have established guidelines for our human interaction that are set forth as reminders when some of the awkward situations we can sometimes create for ourselves occur. Once we overcome our negative thinking, emotions, and behavior through our moral and spiritual awakening procedures, we can read these guidelines so that we can redirect and reprogram. Okay, item 3 of these foundation principles will be guidelines for social harmony and for moral and spiritual growth. So some of the basic principles of these upcoming social harmony guidelines. We'll use moral and spiritual principles to provide leeway for human error. We provide rules for fair play and equality, and we aim towards specific moral values, and we allow for respect and cordiality amongst our members. We all have outside responsibilities that may very well be contrary to our attendance at this higher spiritual power, moral and spiritual advancement support group. We are not here to judge or condemn anything or anyone. We are here because we have a strong desire to advance our moral and spiritual character with the help from a loving and intelligent higher spiritual power. Therefore, this period of time for our support group is set aside from all activities, chaos, and contradictions from the rest of our life's activities to focus on our HSP ideals of morality and spirituality. With that being said, the following are the guidelines for social harmony, which idealistically should be observed and practiced in all activities and service within our HSP fellowship. Okay, social harmony rule A. We should always remain spiritual, moral, and democratic in thought and action, always valuing the principles of equality, non-judgment, and unconditional love. Our fellowship members and representatives and service workers rule no one through coercion. Members voluntarily comply with our procedures for moral and spiritual advancement, foundation principles, and the rules for social harmony, and the rules for reasonable and practical business guidelines, and policies that are made from our moral and spiritual democracy and corporate administration. Rule 3B. No one member, collection of members, paid employee, assembly, or service function should be the arbiter or judge of another person's life, sexual conduct, or preference, or of the manner they choose to earn a living. As members and employees of a spiritual and moral recovery fellowship, we should refrain from gossip, hearsay, accusation, or condemnation of others, taking special care not to damage the life, reputation, or livelihood of another member or others by our words or actions. Rule 3C. As members of or employees, we should always strive to maintain the highest level of honesty in our words and actions. We should be candidly honest when to do so would help another. Cash register honest in the performance of our duties, self-honest in following our conscience, but never brutally honest when to do so would hurt another member, employee, or others. Rule 3D. As members and employees, we should always trust our higher spiritual power and strive to remain non-judgmental in our words and actions, reminding ourselves that criticism, condemnation, cynicism, sarcasm, shame, and guilt are always on the debit side of the ledger and are the tools of ego. Rule 3E. As members and employees, we should always trust our higher spiritual power and strive to maintain the spiritual and moral principles of equality, remembering that we can only be equal in spirit and unequal with ego. 3F. As members and employees, we should always trust our higher spiritual power and strive to practice unconditional love, mercy, and forgiveness for everyone we encounter. Social Harmony Rule G. Our fellowship should not approve punitive action of members or employees except as provided in our reasonable and practical business guidelines. For suspension or dismissal from a position for grievous performance of duties. Forgiveness and mercy are always recommended as our first solution. 3H. Our members nor our organization should not incite controversy. We encourage praise, recognition, helpfulness, and support to all. As members and as an organization, we strive to present ourselves as good stewards, whether within our organization or with the overall public opinion. Social Harmony Rule I. No fellowship member or paid employee should ever be placed in a position of absolute tyrannical control over another. We serve, we never govern. So this slideshow should give you an idea of the standardized format to be used for support group meetings. Unlike many other 12-step organizations, with our spiritual and moral progression support group, the meetings or any other organizational activities should not be autonomous. The support groups are initiated with the ultimate intent of creating a national or world association for moral and spiritual growth support groups. There will always be some variation from meeting to meeting. Therefore, a standardized meeting format is used to keep the content of the meetings consistent from one location to the other. It should be obvious what might occur if this requirement were not in place. Helter-skelter. Hopefully, this decree will not be interpreted as a loss of freedom, but rather a tenet for unity. So with this slide, this will give you an idea of the format for moral and spiritual growth support group meetings. There will be a greeting, but also a forewarning because we have a lot of principles and guidelines to follow. There will be a collection of funds, and then we'll read the rules for social harmony. There will be prayer, and then we introduce ourselves. There's an agenda, and there will be guidelines for how we read and discuss and interact with one another. And then we'll have a reading and discussion for Volume 1, which is our procedures for spiritual awakening. When we've finished that, we'll have a reading and discussion period for Volume 2, which is this volume. And there's a third volume, which will be the third reading and discussion period. And then the third period is about mentoring and teaching these principles. And then the fourth will be about the moral and spiritual democracy in corporate administration. And then we also have a period to discuss our personal moral and spiritual progression. And then we'll conclude our meeting with meditation and prayer. And then we have our closing and announcements. As you review the outline for the format, one important management concept becomes apparent. Since the organization is to be spiritual and moral in all aspects of its operations, all members who have a great desire to be a part of this particular support group shall be immediately and continuously exposed to all aspects and precepts of the complete organizational workings. This method has some very advantageous principles. For one, everyone learns the entire workings of the organization, so no one member has an advantage of knowledge over another. This prevents one member, who may in other organizations have more knowledge of the workings of the organization than the other members, and then interpret the procedures to that member's advantage over the other members. Another advantage to this edict is that such a policy is good practice. In all areas of any operation, it is wise that all staff know all aspects of the business so that no one person is indispensable, and operations continue effectively no matter who is on staff. Another point that needs to be made, and will be repeated throughout all 12-step procedure presentations, is the importance of keeping focus on morality and spirituality, and including our higher spiritual power in all aspects of this organization's activities and functions. It often occurs in other moral and spiritual organizations that when matters of business begin in boardrooms or executive offices, the spiritual, moral, and divine go by the wayside in preference for expediency and practicality. Also, ego can be very insidious, where persons believing that they have arrived at a position of prestige within an organization no longer need to attend the basic support group meetings nor practice the principles of ego deflation and moral and spiritual progress. With the principle of everyone being able to replace anyone, such practices of teaching everyone all aspects is key to ensuring that our unity and our organizational architecture will always stand on firm grounds and are maintained in tip-top shape. So this will be the format for the support group meeting. Okay, the support group chairman would read the following format. Welcome to our HSP Moral and Spiritual Progress Support Group. Before we get underway, we need to make the following disclaimer and proviso. Without intentionally trying to insult anyone, this particular support group may not be for you. So after this announcement, you may have decided that the format and guidelines for this activity is perhaps too strict and demanding. Please feel free to leave without any ill feeling from anyone here. And please feel free to return at any time you have the desire to follow and comply with our standards for moral and spiritual progression. As stated, this meeting is exclusively for those with a very strong desire to use moral and spiritual awakening procedures set forth in Volume 1, 12-Step Recovery Procedures, the procedure for spiritual awakening. Prior to attending this meeting, you should have already read Volume 1, found a moral and spiritual mentor, and started the process to progress morally and spiritually. In fact, we have established a custom that prior to our speaking and discussions, we identify ourselves with the statement, "My name is," and I have a desire to read, study, learn, practice, and teach the moral and spiritual principles set forth in our HSP society. Such a statement not only identifies and reminds us of our common intention and purpose, but also the statement builds unity and esprit de corps amongst our membership. And although no one will calibrate anywhere near perfection in moral and spiritual character, we have some rather stringent standards for social harmony and behavior that we aspire to achieve in our meetings and dealings with this particular organization. We also ask our HSP support group attendees to participate in all service levels of our organization so that no one or a few people are stuck with all the work. We also ask our HSP support group attendees to not only contribute funds at our regular support group meetings, but contribute as well at all functions and service activities they may attend in order to be self-supporting as an organization and not rely on just the support of a few members or an outside contributor to pay our overhead and expenses. And lastly, this HSP Moral and Spiritual Progress Support Group is not affiliated with any other 12-step group or organization, nor do we specifically use their steps, traditions, concepts, warranties, charter, although most of our information and procedures are derived from 12-step recovery and organizational principles and procedures. We do not endorse or oppose any 12-step or any other psychological, metaphysical, psychic, moral, or spiritual organization. As a whole, we deeply value their information. However, in order not to cause confusion or waste time during our meeting, we allow only one part of our meeting where it is appropriate to discuss outside psychological, metaphysical, psychic, moral, spiritual sources, literature, and methods. That period would be towards the end of our support group meeting where we discuss personal and moral spiritual progress. At that time, it is appropriate to discuss useful outside literature, other programs, or methods available for developing, maintaining, and progressing with moral and spiritual principles. We limit such discussion in order to remain on purpose and on schedule, but we are not closed-minded, discriminatory, or segregatory when it comes to valuable and useful information from other psychological, metaphysical, psychic, moral, and spiritual resources. So, after all of that, if you've decided to stay, again, welcome. We are somewhat discriminatory with the caliber of person's character we wish to participate in our HSP support group, even though our HSP is not. However, in order to function and achieve the purpose and goals we have set forth with this support group, HSP organization, we need only a few good men and women. If you've stayed, you value morality and spirituality. As stated previously, we cannot accomplish much if our group is locked in argument and differences of opinion, nor can we do much working with those who generally do not have the personality to work together with others, but instead cause lots of problems. We're looking for a commonality in personality traits that are of high caliber. So this will kind of be like the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, following their oath and law for high caliber conduct, spirituality, and morals. We value moral and spiritual progression, and we are enthusiastic, competent and intelligent, calm and poised, reverent, loving, merciful, forgiving, cordial and courteous, kind and helpful, cooperative, trustworthy, humble, honest. One more thing that needs to be stated up front is that there are many, many ways to achieve a moral and spiritual awakening, and Volume 1 of our literature only scratches the surface of how to achieve such an experience. However, our moral and spiritual progression support group is designed to assist people in elevating their moral and spiritual consciousness, and then maintaining and expanding that state of mind to even higher levels. There should be no limits to your joy, satisfaction, and contentment with yourself, others, and the events in your life. However, due to limited time, there is only one part of our support group schedule where we should discuss other spiritual and moral awakening methods and organizations. Please feel free to establish healthy relationships amongst the membership and share your diverse and credible knowledge of these subject matters with one another when not in the meeting. Okay, at this time, we as a support group and as a nonprofit organization are financially self-supporting only through the contributions of its membership. We contribute in every activity we attend. We rely upon no donations or funds from outside agencies or persons so that no one can dictate, persuade, or influence the format and goals of our organization. We create no business or fundraising activities collecting revenues from outside sources. We charge no fees for attendance to any of our activities, nor dues for membership. Nor do we charge anyone for services pertaining to education or mentoring of our procedures and principles. We do hire employees and services for our organization, and we pay customary and reasonable compensation for their expertise. We promptly pay our bills and overhead to keep our support group meetings and our organization operating satisfactorily. We routinely advertise for persons interested in joining our HSP Moral and Spiritual Growth Fellowship and support groups. We prudently handle our funds, maintaining ample reserve, but never to become a seat of perilous wealth or power. All surplus funds are distributed throughout the organization through the collective spiritual and moral conscience procedure in accordance with the corporate's administrative recommendations. Every part or division of the organization is responsible to keep all parts and divisions within the organization in effective operating status. With that all being said, we now pass the basket in order to receive your heartfelt contribution to keep this activity going. While we pass the basket for contributions, we will read our foundation principles and our guidelines for social harmony. We open our HSP Moral and Spiritual Progression Support Group with about 1 minute of silence to follow our own personal procedure to enter into a mild meditative state of mind. Now, if you like, you can repeat the following prayer out loud. Higher spiritual power, grant what we say be of thy word, so others shall be blessed for having heard. And grant that our path be thy chosen way, so those who hold our hand will not be led astray. Now I ask your higher spiritual power to heal, forgive, and remove all defects and problems with your personal morality, spirituality, and character, and to replace them with the more desirable personality traits that are in your best interests. Ask your higher spiritual power to allow you to become a vessel for all that is good. Ask to become a channel so that your words and comments speak of divine truths, and ask for divine synergy to enter to this meeting so that we can all expand and elevate our moral and spiritual consciousness. Now we open our eyes and come back to our normal waking state, feeling refreshed, blessed, and grateful. At this time, let's go around the room and introduce our moral and spiritual selves to one another. Please include your name and a brief description of yourself why you are interested in this particular support group, and why you desire to grow morally and spiritually. Please be responsible for how much information you wish to share about yourself to others. So now we begin reading and discussion part of our agenda. We will read sequentially through a portion of each volume, 1 through 4, of the 12-step recovery procedures, each person reading a paragraph, and then picking up at the next meeting wherever we leave off at this one. After each volume of literature, we each take a turn sharing of what we have read and what it means to us. This sharing process expands and elevates our consciousness. But we still need to follow certain social and courtesy principles to maintain our elevated spirit and to avoid stepping on anyone's toes. Our sensitivity and indifference varies from person to person. So in a social setting such as this, we want to remain on the cautious side to prevent any misperceived slights. So please check your ego at the door. Therefore, to respect everyone in attendance at this moral and spiritual advancement support group meeting, please do not interrupt someone while they are reading or talking, and please do not hold any side conversations with others during the meeting. When it is your turn to discuss the topic, please stay on topic and to the point, trying to limit your sharing to 3 to 5 minutes maximum, so we can stay on schedule and not run late. Also, to keep with our schedule and to prevent any one person from unintentionally dominating the conversation, each person shares just once for each reading. Please feel free to meet up with others after the meeting to discuss these topics. During your turn to discuss the topic, please do not critique what someone else may have shared, refrain from giving advice, or embellishing your point of view based upon self-aggrandizement. We wish to respect everyone's opinion and not take anyone's point of view as a personal insult. Please be careful with offensive or prejudicial language and curb the comedy, sarcasm, and cynicism that is frequently used in many other elements of our society. So now, at this time, we will begin reading Volume 1, The Procedure for Spiritual Awakening. We will start at my left and go around the room with each person reading one paragraph, stopping at some point reasonable without losing the context of the reading. We record where we stop and pick up the next meeting where we left off at this one. Repetition is extremely crucial to learning and remembering to practice these moral and spiritual principles. Therefore, when we finish a volume, we start all over again. Then once everybody has taken a turn reading and you leave off somewhere where it makes sense to, then we enter the discussion period. Now that our reading of section of Volume 1 has been completed, each person has the opportunity to discuss what stands out or something worthy of sharing with the other attendees. As one person talks, they have the floor, while everyone quietly listens. We can do this by raising our hands or being selected by our chairperson. Because of the time restraints, please limit your time of talking and only discuss the topic once. Now we will repeat the same procedure, but we will read from Volume 2 and then discuss the context of the reading and our understanding. Now we will repeat the same procedure for Volume 3 and now Volume 4. And finally, now each person is welcome to discuss their personal progress with their moral and spiritual growth and maintenance aspirations. Please feel free to discuss any and all methods and activities, even if they don't pertain to this organization's literature, procedures, or policies. So once the reading and discussion period ended, we will go into a meditation and prayer. You might want to take a break, let everybody go to the bathroom and all that, but make it rather quick. And then this will be the format for the meditation. And now, prior to closing, everyone is welcome to join us in meditation. So we will use the meditation method as established in Volume 1. So if everyone will sit up straight, put their hands in their lap, palms up, feet flat on the floor, or use any other position that you are familiar with that allows you to be relaxed and enter a deep meditative state of mind. So this is what we do, the slow way, to enter a deep meditative state of mind. So all that we will have to do is use our imagination and follow directions. So to start, we will get relaxed and comfortable. First, we will think about our eyelids, and with one part of our mind, we know we can always open or close our eyelids. But at this time, we choose to close them so that we can enter a very relaxed meditative state of mind. So then we close our eyes and just feel the relaxation. With another part of our mind, we suggest to ourselves that our eyelids will remain closed, as if they were too heavy to lift open, or as if they were glued shut. We make these suggestions to ourselves with our own beautiful mind, feeling safe and secure and relaxed. Now think about the muscles and nerves that control our eyes, and allow all the muscles and nerves that are associated with our eyes to relax all the way back to your brain, where your vision takes place. Think about all of the parts and functions of our eyes and the space this occupies. And now think about relaxing all of our muscles and nerves associated with our vision. For meditation, we will not require our physical vision for a short while. So just enjoy the relaxation and rest all parts of our eyes and brain that pertain to our vision. Now, going into a deeper level, letting go of all tension and stress, we think about our ears and let all the muscles and nerves associated with our ears relax all the way to our brain, or the place where our hearing takes place. Think about this area and the area it occupies. Think about all the complex activity that is involved with our hearing, such as external, middle, and internal parts, and nerves and neurons that participate in creating our hearing and understanding. Now, with our own beautiful mind, let everything involved take a break and relax for a short while. You will hear my words, but other sounds and activities you will not need to be detected, because we are presently in a safe and secure location, relaxing our body and mind to enter into a deep state of meditation. Think relaxation, then feel it come, breathing comfortably, breathing out stress, and breathing in relaxation. Let my voice take us deeper and deeper, and let any outside noises or distractions make us even more relaxed. Now, going even deeper, we think about our nose and all its complex systems and cells used to breathe, detect odor, and fight off infections. Allow all parts of the nose, the muscles, the nerves, the sinuses, the mucus glands, the cells, even the DNA, the internal organelles of each cell, to relax completely. Think about the area of our nose, the airways, the olfactory, and immune system operations, and allow that complete area to relax. Think about the space this occupies. Think relaxation, and now feel it. Going deeper and deeper into a meditative state, trying to enter the spiritual realm, and communing with your higher spiritual power. We let ourselves go into this healthy and beautiful state of mind with our imagination. Now going deeper and deeper, think about the area of your mouth, jaws, teeth, and tongue. Think about all the muscles, tendons, and ligature it requires to operate our jaws. Think about the intricate system of blood vessels and nerves that run through this area of your body to our tongue and teeth. Think about the taste organs, the salivary glands, the digestive fluids, the immune system activities, and so forth that pertain to your mouth. Think about the complexity of speech that is projected from our mouth. Now allow all this activity to be put on hold and relax for a short while that you will be meditating. Think relaxation and allow it to happen. Feel relaxation happen, concentrating on my voice, soft, rhythmic, and pleasing. Now going into a very deep meditative state, think about the many complex areas of our neck. Think about under your chin, your throat, your vocal cords, your major circulation and nervous system passageways through the neck muscles, ligature, discs, bone padding, bone marrow, and so on. But now, allow everything to go into stasis and relax, increasing and compounding your total relaxed state of mind and body. Think about the many other amazing parts of our body and let everything relax. We can go into areas like our feet and relax everything in an upward motion to the top of our head, feeling those parts that need more relaxation to tingle or quiver a little until they are completely relaxed. Imagine our feet immersed into a warm pool of light, and it rises up through us, bringing us into a deeper level of peace and serenity. This light is a spiritual light, relaxing us more and more. Allow this beautiful wave of light to touch every cell, tissue, fiber of our body with peace, love, and healing as we go deeper and deeper. We can focus on each energy chakra, or imagine running soothing electrical current up and down our spine with each breath. If we so desire, we can mentally relax every complex organ of our body. Our liver, our brain, our spleen, our stomach, our heart, our pancreas, our gallbladder, and so on. Relax each area into silence, operating effectively and efficiently, but without any undue stress or angst, becoming more and more healthy, healed, and filling ourselves with the smooth wave of light into our body and mind. Likewise, there are many complex systems involved in our body's proper functioning, whether it is respiratory, circulatory, digestive, urinary tract, skeletal, skin, and so forth. With our own beautiful mind, we are going to turn down the dial to slow motion. We relax and know that the present immobility of our body is safe and protected, and we are able to relax more and more. We are compounding relaxation upon relaxation. All of the cells, molecules, and atoms that make up the matter of our material body can also slow down in activity at our suggestion. With our body systems in a very relaxed state, the need for outside nutrition or air is greatly reduced. We are allowing our body to go into a deep meditative state, but our mind remains alert and clear. So now, as I count from 5 to 1, we allow our body relaxation to double with each number. As I say the number 5, imagine and feel ourselves going 2 times deeper into a meditative state, feeling relaxed and safe. We are compounding our relaxation and going deeper and deeper into meditation. 4. Feel the relaxation compound again, doubling our relaxation from the previous moment. We let it happen, and we feel it take us down 2 more degrees of relaxation. 3. Going deeper and deeper into a meditative state. 2. We just doubled our relaxation again, and we are enjoying the tingly feelings and sensations of being in this altered state of mind. 1. We have entered the meditative state necessary to experience the spiritual realm. So in this beautiful spiritual realm, let us walk down the marvelously ornamented and designed staircase. Imagine or visualize walking down the staircase, and at the bottom and just in front of us, we see a beautifully manicured garden, a garden of peace, serenity, safety, and love. Our body is filled with the beautiful healing light. We are surrounded with this tingly and wonderfully feeling light as it continues to heal us, rejuvenate us, and to relax us. In this garden, we find a place to rest and allow the deepest levels of our subconscious mind to open up to our higher spiritual power. We now ask our higher spiritual power to present itself and assist us with our endeavor to progress morally and spiritually in our life on earth. We ask our higher spiritual power for the ability to be aware of debit thinking, emotions, and behavior, to stop it quickly, and to go rapidly into our desired improved thinking, emotions, and behavior. We ask our higher spiritual power from our ongoing moral inventory, we ask to have debits removed and replaced with the credit morals that will improve our life, emotions, thinking, and behavior. We ask to repair all resentment with love and forgiveness, and that we are protected from resentment, anger, argument, and retaliation. We ask for our thoughts, emotions, and behavior pertaining to all interaction and memories between us and others in the past, present, or future to be healthy, moral, kind, and helpful. We ask our higher spiritual power to assist us in disposing of the negative and in our improving our methods of dealing with fear. We ask it to assist us in disposing our negative personality traits and improving our relations with others. And we ask it to assist us in disposing our negative thoughts, emotions, and behavior, and in improving our thinking, emotions, and expressions of our sexuality. Now, while we're here, take a few moments to send our love out to all those we may be presently concerned about. So remember that whenever we desire to go into this meditative state of mind, we can do so easily and effortlessly, without ever losing concentration on whatever activity we are doing. In one part of our mind, we are alert and focused and respond effectively and efficiently in whatever activity we are currently performing. But with another part of our mind, just by looking at our four knuckles on either hand, we will enter this alert state where we can instantly reprogram our subconscious mind with the help of our higher spiritual power to remove ineffective and undesirable emotions and thoughts, and replace them with healthy and sane thinking and feelings. We do this with prayer, knowing that we will be receiving additional help and power from a loving, intelligent, supernatural, spiritual source. So now, as I count from 1 to 5, we start experiencing our thumb with the number 1, going to the index finger for number 2, and continue sequentially to the little finger for number 5, and we joyfully return to our normal waking state, feeling better than before we started this process. 1, coming back from our meditative state, we say to ourselves that every day in every way, we are getting more spiritually and morally awake. 2, feeling happy, joyous, and free more than we could ever have imagined. We keep coming back to our normal waking state of mind and body. 3, returning back to the normal, we know that this meditation and prayer process was successful and has greatly enhanced our mental, emotional, and physiological systems into a remarkable and superior state of health and well-being. 4, as we focus on our ring finger, we know that at any time in our normal waking state, we can focus on our individual 5 fingers and immediately recall these suggestions to feel happy, joyous, and free, and always be in control of our thinking, emotions, and behavioral processes. 5. Now, focusing on the little finger, we bring our conscious and subconscious mind to a higher and more elevated state than we have ever experienced previously. Having a wonderful, beautiful smile on our face, this joy transposes to every atom, molecule, cell, system, thought, emotion, and belief that takes place with us in this physical realm of the present. Open our eyes and we are fully awake. Now, just so no one is still in a trance, say to ourselves or out loud, I am awake and I am in control. We are now ready to close this HSP Moral and Spiritual Advancement Support Group meeting. Our next meeting will be at whatever location, date, and time. At this time, we will ask for announcements concerning our HSP fellowship. One of our HSP goals is that our moral and spiritual advancement support groups grow and expand throughout the country, and that we develop into a national fellowship using 12-step principles of a representative democracy and a corporate administration. Therefore, at every HSP meeting or activity, we always announce the need that once a member has learned and practiced all the information contained in volumes 1 through 4 of our literature, that they be willing to venture out and start a new support group in another time or at another location. At this time, we ask if there are any announcements pertaining to our HSP fellowship. Also, if there are any other announcements pertaining to any other moral or spiritual development activities that are not related specifically to our HSP fellowship, please make them at this time. So at this time, we will be closing our meeting. Please everyone stand, join hands as we recite the following prayer. Blessed are those who love all and are loved by all. Blessed are they who forgive all and are forgiven by all. Blessed are they who behave well towards others and others behave well toward them. Blessed are they who think well of others and others think well of them. For those who have overcome despair, hatred, offense, discord, error, doubt, sadness, and darkness are truly blessed with faith, love, forgiveness, peace, truth, knowledge, joy, and light. 12-Step Procedures, Volume 2, Start Your Own Spiritual and Moral Support Group. This is part 2 of the 2-part series. Our HSP Fellowship conducts a regular scheduled business meeting to address routine matters and any contingencies pertaining to the proper and satisfactory operation of the moral and spiritual advancement support groups. Although the business meeting serves the support group, it is set up upon principles for democratic representation and corporate administration. However, both systems of our organization are always and foremost based upon moral and spiritual values, with a higher spiritual power participating in all decisions, whether it is one person or a group. We request that all members of our HSP fellowship not only participate with the financial support of our organization, but as well with the service and duty aspects required so that the activities can function smoothly. The support group meeting needs people to open up and clean up the meeting hall, people to chair the meeting, people to perform as treasurers so that the funds are properly handled and bills are paid, people to act as secretaries to keep the fellowship announcement and policies available to the members, and so forth. These positions also require assistance to make the jobs easier and to pick up the ball when someone cannot fulfill their duties to the fellowship. The business meeting also requires additional people for the same positions and services. As the organization grows, there will also be a need for special committee membership and for persons acting as delegates to higher levels of the Democratic Assembly. In the course of our business meeting and all subsequent Democratic assemblies, a spiritual and democratic decision-making method, which is called the collective spiritual conscience procedure, is used. Although somewhat time-consuming, the method ensures that many important aspects of making sound decisions that pertain to a spiritual and moral fellowship will be followed. The procedure consists of the following. 1. Proper announcement procedures to notify all members of the issue, providing ample time for members to schedule their time for their attendance and participation. 2. Having the issue properly listed into the business meeting agenda or the Democratic Assembly agenda, identifying the person who will present the issue. 3. Adequate presentation of the issue to the business meeting participants or the Democratic Assembly, satisfactorily covering all aspects of the issue to include the need or problem, a proposed solution, feasibility, practicality, economics, fair play, and organizational principles and priorities. 4. The presenter then puts the issue into a clearly understood question format that requires only a yes or no response. 5. Fair discussion practices allowing everyone reasonable time to comment and participate in the discussion in an orderly and cordial manner. 6. A period of time is allotted for all to meditate and pray to their higher spiritual power for guidance. 7. A secret ballot vote is then conducted, with the chairperson or the secretary tallying the final count. 8. A substantial unanimity of 80% yes or 80% no must be arrived at for a decision to be made. Otherwise, the final ruling is a no decision. All three conclusions stand for 1 year before they can be brought before the business meeting or Democratic Assembly again. 9. Another discussion can be held and action taken for a no decision if it is evident that a decision must be made or a candidate must be selected. The choice is then left to a random method such as pulling from the hat or rolling a die. For decisions, it will be only a choice between yes and no. For undecided elections, all candidates' names will be placed into the random selection method, and one name will be chosen to perform the duties of that particular position. All other names will be listed as alternates, and assistants to that position. Item 10. The final decision will be turned over to the chairperson, treasurer, and secretary to create a policy to administrate, announce, and fund the decision. The policy will be presented in all future support groups. If the decision is made at a higher level of democratic assembly, the decision is then turned over to their corresponding corporate service office to administrate the new policy to the appropriate levels of membership. For the business meeting and democratic assemblies, there are also guidelines that are called reasonable and practical business guidelines. They're based upon decades of experience with other 12-step organizations. They standardize organizational activities to prevent disparity and dissolution of the organizational foundation. And they are sage, wise, and prudent practices. Besides the requirement for compliance with the original foundation principles and guidelines for social harmony, which is presented in all spiritual and moral advancement support groups, there are another set of guidelines to be followed in all business meeting and democratic activities of our HSP fellowship. These guidelines come from principles set forth in concepts, traditions, warranties, and charters of other 12-step groups, and although somewhat reworded, are not original in their basic idea. They are based upon experienced and sage direction developed over time that have proved to be efficient and effective in the business matters of the moral and spiritual organization. These reasonable and practical business guidelines are as follows. Item 1. All standards established for our support groups to include our foundation principles and guidelines for social harmony apply to all other activities within our HSP fellowship. The ultimate authority in all of our activities, to include democratic assembly and corporate administration, is always a loving, intelligent, higher spiritual power. Prerequisites to attend the business meeting or any other level of our HSP democratic assembly or corporate administration requires that the member have completed all of Volume 1 procedures with the help of a moral and spiritual mentor. Item 1A. In the performance of any service activity for our HSP fellowship, we always remember our common purpose and apply our moral and spiritual awakening procedures to progressively improve our moral and spiritual character in the performance of our duties. Through meditation and prayer, we always ask a higher spiritual power to assist us in making individual decisions and in serving our HSP fellowship. Prior to speaking in any business meeting, democratic assembly, corporate administration meeting, or committee member, we use our customary declaration of purpose and intent when identifying ourselves. Item 1B. All group democratic or group corporate policy and decision-making activities are made with a morally and spiritually awake state of mind by using our collective spiritual and moral conscience procedure arrived at through fair discussion and then through meditation and prayer to our personal concept of a higher spiritual power prior to voting to make a decision. Final decision is based upon 80% substantial unanimity, a no decision or a random draw from yes versus no choices. Or if it is an election and no one received 80% of the vote, then all names are placed into the hat and the winner is chosen randomly. All who were not chosen can perform as assistants and alternates. Item 2. In the spirit of common and individual purpose and welfare for our membership and employees, we establish the following rights, as described in Volume 4 of our literature, for all in service to our HSP fellowship. 2A. Right of participation. All members, employees, or contracted service providers attending our collective spiritual conscience discussion have the right to participate in the discussion as well as voting. Item 2B, right of decision. All members, employees, or contracted service providers have the right to make immediate decisions to perform their job or duty without being retromanaged, micromanaged, or questioned critically about their expertise in decision-making process. Item 2C, right of appeal. All members, employees, or contracted service providers can list their issue on the agenda and present their grievance to the appropriate democratic assembly for review and collective spiritual conscious decision. The minority opinion is respected equally as is the majority opinion. Therefore, substantial unanimity or random selection from all proposed solutions will resolve the issue. Item 2D, right of authority. Each and every service position within our HSP fellowship has a well-defined job description and commensurate authority to perform that service. However, within the HSP fellowship, there is also a well-defined hierarchy of authority so that conflict of authority cannot occur and immediate decisions can be made without confusion, unnecessary delay, or fear of reprisal. Item 3. In the spirit of common and individual purpose and welfare for our membership and employees, we establish the following protections, as described in Volume 4 of our literature, for all in service to our HSP fellowship. 3A. No one person, regardless of their position within our HSP fellowship, can ever exert tyrannical power over another individual or group. All of our activities and our compliance to our standards are voluntary. As trusted servants, we communicate and not dictate. We serve our HSP fellowship with humility and, whenever possible, anonymously. Item 3B. Any member or employee can resign on a moment's notice from any position and be reinstated with no punitive action upon satisfactory appeal provided by the collective spiritual conscience from the democratic assembly in which that person is serving. They do not have to remain in an unpleasant or unfavorable position and wait until the situation is later resolved by democratic assembly. Item 3C. Each and every service position at every level of our HSP fellowship has a well-defined job description and commensurate authority to perform that job, but must always be working under a higher authority position which will resolve all conflicts as it occurs. 3D. No member or employee shall ever be mandated to contribute financially to any activity they are performing or are in attendance. Our requirement to be financially self-supporting is completely voluntary. Item 4. Likewise, in order to maintain our commonness of purpose, unity, and equality, our HSP fellowship provides certain standards for all members and employees to follow. 4A. Our support group meetings, business meetings, and all subsequent democratic assembly and corporate administration are not autonomous. Item 4B. Every and all levels of support group, business meeting, or other subsequent democratic assemblies and corporate administration cordially communicate and cooperate with all lateral and vertical HSP fellowship operations. Our organization has clearly delineated chain for final authority so that any conflict or disagreement does not become an unending battle and entanglement. That final authority with all decisions, once we have practiced our HSP moral and spiritual procedures, will rest in the hands of the highest corporate administrative position pertaining to the issue. The representative democratic assemblies determine the needs of the fellowship through the collective spiritual conscious procedure, and the corporate service office develops the methods to administrate the determinations of the democratic assemblies. Both operations require the amiable cooperation and communication with the other. No business meeting, corporate service office, CEO, or director can take any action that will affect the whole HSP fellowship without conferring with their assembly for the collective spiritual conscious decision first. Item 4C, sufficient operating funds, ample reserve, and financial prudence and husbandry are the principles for our fellowship longevity. Item 4C1, our fellowship at any level should never become the seat of perilous wealth or power. Because we are self-supporting, we take up a collection of membership contributions at all group activities, whether it be a meeting, assembly, or committee. Once expenses and overhead is satisfied, all levels of operation within our HSP fellowship have the responsibility to distribute and share surplus funds to all or any division within the organization that requires financial assistance. The funding of any corporate administrative service office in financial need in order to pay the bills and keep the doors open will take priority over other funding requirements. As well, it is also high priority that all spiritual and moral advancement support groups can pay their bills and keep their doors open to anyone desiring help with our spiritual and moral advancement procedures. Item 4C2, the financial management and contracting of major property and services for meeting halls, assembly halls, conference halls, and service offices are incorporated separately. However, both income revenue and outgoing expenses for all HSP activities ultimately are the responsibility of the HSP Fellowship. 4C3, no person, group, level, activity, or operation within our HSP Fellowship shall start any form of separate or unapproved fundraising, sales, conferences, or business. Item 4C4, no person, group, level, activity, or operation within our HSP Fellowship shall voice their opinion, endorse, oppose, fund, or accept funding of another outside agency. Item 4C5, no person, group, level, activity, or operation within our HSP Fellowship shall charge a fee for teaching, mentoring, or providing the moral, spiritual principles and procedures of our HSP Fellowship. Our literature is always available for purchase online and can be purchased at any level or function of our HSP Fellowship at 25% above cost and handling expenses. Item 4C6, all financial, property, authority, and management disputes are ultimately resolved at their level of democratic assembly through the collective spiritual conscience procedure. Item 4C7, we choose our treasurers and financial management personnel wisely, reviewing and ensuring not only their qualifications for financial and legal expertise, but moral and spiritual qualifications as well. At our higher levels of operation, generally a committee is formed to choose our financial leaders wisely. Item 4C8, our business meetings and our subsequent corporate administration service offices may hire special workers, staff, or contract services and pay the wages and costs for all activities decided upon by the representative democracy. These workers and service companies may participate in our democratic assembly discussion and voting whenever the discussion and foregoing decision pertains to their services. The manager of the service office also serves as the chairperson for the democratic assembly they serve. Treasurers and democratic assemblies must always be mindful of providing funding to the corporate administration before creating any funding for superfluous activities. Item 5, our HSP Moral and Spiritual Advancement Fellowship is not affiliated with any other 12-step psychological, psychiatric, religious, spiritual, or moral organization. We neither endorse nor oppose any outside agency. We stand on our own 2 feet and lean neither left nor right. Our HSP fellowship and HSP membership activities and service cooperate fully with the public and other agencies. Although our public relations and advertising policies must conform to our established moral and spiritual standards, we nevertheless apply common sense, cordiality, practicality, and the like in all our dealings and transactions with the public, other agencies, and our membership. Item 6, we strive to use a rotating system of leadership. However, we choose our candidates for all service positions wisely, based upon their skills, education, and moral and spiritual character. All members are knowledgeable of all service positions within our HSP fellowship, whether it is in a support group, business meeting, democratic assembly, corporate administration, service office, board of directors, or national CEO. No one in our HSP fellowship is indispensable. We always keep an ongoing roster of alternates to fill any position if vacated for any reason. Members or employees who are serving the HSP fellowship in any capacity can be replaced for gross negligence of duty with a vote of no confidence by the assembly they serve through the process of a collective spiritual conscience. However, no one can be expelled or suspended from the HSP fellowship. All persons are free to join, resign, then join again, as long as they can state and demonstrate that they have a desire to follow our HSP procedures, standards, and guidelines. Item 7, although our organizational system of support group meetings, business meeting, representative democracy, and corporate administration, service offices, and board, with all the standards and guidelines is rather complex, we must still aim for the middle of the road and always beware of the extremes of over-organizing, over-creating, overspending, over-thriftiness, overzealousness, and the like. Item 8, a major objective of our HSP fellowship is to grow and expand into a national or worldwide spiritual and moral advancement organization. Therefore, we emphasize our need to create support groups and business meetings, and when possible, consolidate their activities into a central democratic assembly with a corporate administration service office. With growth, we will develop a hierarchy, such as county and state, of geographic assemblies and service offices until we reach a national level. At the national level, besides a national assembly and service office, a CEO and board of directors will be developed in a separate office to be the final planners and administrators of all actions and policies created and decided upon by the membership democracy. Item 9, our membership entertains no lackluster attitudes. We as members are intelligent and highly motivated persons who see the importance of advancing the morality and spirituality of ourselves and our society. We believe in our HSP fellowship as a means to make major improvements in our personal lives, with those we associate with, and in our world. Our HSP fellowship conducts a regularly scheduled business meeting to address routine matters and any contingencies pertaining to the proper and satisfactory operation of the moral and spiritual advancement support groups. Although the business meeting serves the support group, it is set up upon principles of democratic representation and corporate administration. However, both systems of our organization are always and foremost based upon moral and spiritual values, with a higher spiritual power participating in all decisions, whether it is one person or a group. We request that all members of our HSP fellowship not only participate in the financial support of our organization, but as well with the service and duty aspects required so that the activities can function smoothly. The support group meeting needs people to open up and clean up the meeting hall, people to chair the meeting, people to perform as treasurers so that the funds are properly handled and bills are paid, people to act as secretaries to keep the fellowship announcements and policies available for the members, and so forth. These positions also require assistance to make the jobs easier to pick up the ball when someone else cannot fulfill their duties to the fellowship. Their business meeting also requires additional people for the same positions and services. As the organization grows, there will also be a need for special committee membership and for persons acting as delegates to higher levels of the Democratic Assembly. Okay, the business meeting format, the chairperson reads, "Welcome to, in the name of your support group, HSB business meeting. We meet once a month on the first, second, or third Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at such and such a time. This is a closed meeting for those who attend our regular moral and spiritual recovery support group meetings at location, day, and time, and have completed, with the help of a personal and spiritual mentor, the Procedure for Spiritual Awakening, Volume 1 of our literature. Prior to any participation in our discussions, we ask that all members, 1, ask their higher spiritual power to channel love, intelligence, knowledge, wisdom, compassion, etc., through to assist them in serving others. And 2, prior to speaking, please state your name and that you have a desire to learn, practice, study, and teach our moral and spiritual advancement process." So let's open our meeting with a moment of silence followed by the following prayer. Higher spiritual power, grant what we say be of thy word, so others shall be blessed for having heard. And grant that our path be thy chosen way, so those who hold our hand will not be led astray. We have put together an agenda for this meeting, and it is available up front. At this time, we pass the basket because we are self-supporting in all our activities. I have asked name to read our foundation principles and guidelines for social harmony. And then when that's finished, we ask another person to read our reasonable and practical business guidelines. Then the chairperson reads, "Besides general membership, this business meeting includes the positions of chairperson, secretary, treasurer, and various committee representatives and assembly delegates. The terms and tenure of these positions are established by a collective spiritual conscience, and their positions and names are listed in our secretarial records. We keep business meeting minutes and records of our meeting activities, of decisions and policies made with our collective spiritual conscience, and all financial transactions concerning our support group and business meeting." At this time, the secretary will read the minutes from our last business meeting. After reading the report, a period of time is allowed for questions and comments. The next order on the agenda would be for the treasurer to read the group financial report, and again, a period for questions and comments. And then the next activity would be the respective committee members and delegates make their reports with subsequent questions and comments. Members, employees, or contracted service representatives must contact this meeting's secretary prior to the meeting to have their issue listed under new business. That person must be present at the business meeting, assembly, committee, or corporate office meeting, board meeting, etc., to present their issue prior to the collective spiritual conscience proceedings. A collective spiritual conscience is a spiritual voting procedure to include a higher spiritual power in all our elections, decisions, and actions, and to exclude ego. Basically, this procedure ensures that we take time out to meditate and pray to our higher spiritual power before any decisions or voting is accomplished. A period of whatever we decide is provided for meditation, prayer, and consultation with your higher spiritual power before any voting is conducted or decisions are made. With all activities that require a vote, a substantial consensus of 80% of all the ballots must be attained or a no decision is reached. In the result of a no decision, another collective spiritual conscience may be conducted to determine if a decision must be made at this time. If a decision is pertinent, the two options, yes and no, can be chosen by a random choosing method, such as rolling dice or a draw from the hat. Or if it is an election and no one achieved an 80% substantial unanimity, then a random method can be used to pull the elected name from the field of all candidates. This random procedure is designed to treat the majority and the minority on an equal playing field. Prior to any collective spiritual conscience vote, there is a discussion period. The person representing the agenda item must be present for the discussion and introduces themselves and their agenda item to the discussion panel. Upon finishing their description, they present the issue to the discussion panel in a question format that can only be answered with a yes or a no. Discussion begins following our customarily orderly and standardized fashion. The discussion should always include the practicality of the motion and the feasibility for funding the motion. The discussion should also include a recommendation on how to administrate the motion as well. However, the final motion must always be stated in a format where there can only be a yes or no answer. An example might be, should we allow the use of e-cigarettes in our meetings? After the discussion of the agenda item has concluded, the person submitting the agenda item on the agenda may rephrase the item more appropriately to reflect the discussion. The chairperson will repeat the motion verbatim prior to the meditation and prayer period. Those who are undecided or wish to abstain may do so by not voting. Only those present to listen to the discussion can vote on the matter. Only the ballots of those voting will be counted. At this time, we will discuss and hold a collective spiritual conscience on any old business as listed from our minutes and our agenda, one at a time. Once we concluded old business, then we will start in on new business. At this time, we will discuss and hold a collective spiritual conscience, if necessary, on any new business as listed on our agenda, one at a time. When the collective spiritual conscience procedures have ended, then we can make the announcement, anyone who wishes to add items for discussion and collective spiritual conscience for our next business meeting can do so at this time. Please announce at all support group meetings that members must contact their support group meeting secretary, who in turn contacts the business meeting secretary prior to the business meeting to have any agenda item added to the business meeting agenda. The member proposing the agenda item must attend the business meeting for the discussion and collective spiritual conscience procedure, or no action can be taken. Please note that new business not on the agenda but brought up during the business meeting will not be voted on during this meeting. Instead, it will be listed under old business in the next business meeting agenda. Again, the person submitting the agenda item requiring a collective spiritual conscience must be in attendance at the next business meeting in order for a discussion and a vote to take place. Any old or new business items that did not get discussed or voted on are put under old business in the business meeting minutes in chronological order as they were received by the business meeting secretary. and are placed on the next business meeting agenda for discussion and collective spiritual conscience decision. At this time, we would like to adjourn. First, we remind everyone in attendance of our HSP fellowship's need to grow and expand by starting new support groups at new times and locations. Then we ask for any and all announcements concerning our HSP support group representative democracy or service corporation activities. And now we open our announcements to include anything outside of our organization that anyone feels is worthy of our attention. We have asked the person's name to read the following quote. 3 conditions are necessary for true fellowship. 1, the possession of a common ideal involving complete release from selfishness and division. 2, the discharge of a common task big enough to capture the imagination and give expression to loyalty. And 3, the comradeship, the togetherness thus involved as we find out the joy and power of belonging to an organic society and engaging in a whole-time service. We can find it at its fullest extent where the ideal is highest and most exacting, where the task extends and integrates every ounce of our strength and every element of our being, where the comradeship is so solid and deep that we respond one another without conscious effort, realize the spoken need and react to it spontaneously and at once. Under such conditions, all the vitality that we usually waste upon our jealousies and vanities, upon keep-up appearances and putting people in their proper place, becomes available for creative use. That was quoted from Canon C.E. Raven. So our meeting is now over. At this time, we would like to join hands in a circle and say the Serenity Prayer. Higher spiritual power, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is the end of Volume 2 of our 12-step recovery procedures, which was entitled Start Your Own HSP Moral and Spiritual Advancement Support Group. The next presentation will be Volume 3.